Welcome to Hedges. Here we have an example of the contrast you can produce with a hedge in the background against a white statue, whether it's the dark foliage on the left and dark beetroot, or on the right you've got the bright red quince flowers with that yellow petal centre. Just trying to get you a shot of it. There we are. And just imagine a whole wall of beautiful red petaled flowers with this yellow stamens in the centre. It's now the 2nd of May, so it has virtually totally flowered and is dropping its petals, but you can imagine that as a contrast to the backdrop, and you have a white statue in your garden. So that is a quince hedge. In spring it's got these beautiful red flowers, and in autumn and winter, when the leaves are all dropped, you'll have yellow, about 4 or 5 centimetre diameter type quinces, like very acidic apples. So yes, it is a beautiful hedge, but it's prickly. That's the only disadvantage of it. So if we move to the second option, which is the traditional privet, here we see the beautiful sprouting leaves of the privet, and if you allow it to carry on growing another 2 feet, the tips have little white flowers, which are similar to, if you imagine, tiny bunches of grapes, and the aroma from them is sweet honey. So another native beautiful hedge that I recommend is the privet. So yes, you can intertwine your privet with sweet peas to give even more flowers. So we'll just gently walk around the garden. But my real favourite at the moment is the beechwood. So the reason it's native is 1, and 2, it will heal itself. So if we now have a look at 2 examples I have, here we see that the central branch has actually died, and you have an edge, a rolled edge, that will grow together and heal. And here we have also an example where 2 twigs are actually growing, widening their diameter, and they actually grow into each other. So a twig pressing against a twig, the barks will fuse and produce you an impenetrable hedge. And the beech is a massive tree, a very majestic tree, so a very strong tree, so good growth. And I recommend a beech because I like the cascading leaves in spring. So we'll look at the beechwood hedge now, as we walk around the corner. So we can see the beechwood hedge. It's the 2nd of May in Mansfield, and as you've got some apple blossom. You can see here, because it's been in the shade, the branches, little twigs, the bark of the twigs hasn't had so much sunlight as the other side, and it's still retained the autumn leaves. And these are the autumn leaves that have been on until the 23rd of March, and they actually still form that barrier. So although it's a deciduous tree, it will keep the old leaves in place, providing that barrier to pollutions from the road, from the cars of the road, so that the dust and the soot doesn't enter into your garden. And then when they've had enough bright sunlight, 4 days of really bright intense sunlight, you get these gorgeous cascading delicate leaves. As you rub past them, they're so soft and delicate, like a woman's skin. They're absolutely gorgeous. It's the sensation that you wait for all year round. To me, these cascading leaves, as you can see here, there's a cascading, absolutely it's what makes the beechwood hedge, to me, the most attractive hedge. Here we have some prickly, thorny type flowers, which I'm not particularly keen on, but my wife likes. Going back a little bit, here we have a variegated variety plant. I'm sure you'll give me the names of it. And as you can see here, we had a large, very overgrown tree in the hedge, and we cut the tree, and as you can see, we painted the stump in the hope that it would prevent it dying, but actually it started to, the wood started to rot away, and as you can see, the branches now will be fusing as this central bit becomes very friable. I'll just press on it. As some of it starts to come away, you'll see it's these, the bark here from this branch and the bark from this branch, that will fuse and eventually overgrow that bit of wood. So the bit of wood that was proud away from either branch, the branch on the left or the branch on the right, actually the bark dries out and dies, and then the wood, the xylem wood beneath it, also dies. So as we then move, I quickly wanted to show you, I missed a grafting. We have a tree here with grafting, so I'll slowly move across to the tree with grafting. Oh, here we have some quince. It's beautiful quince, just a tiny little flower. Here we have the quince, unshaded by the leaf. I don't know if you can see it. There we are. There's those yellow petals, yellow stamens inside, these bright red petals. There's another example here. And it's this base that will form the quince fruit that's beautifully yellow, bright yellow orange colour in the autumn. That is an attraction of the quince. So here we have a grafted apple tree, and if we follow the two grafts down to the stock, you can see here where the graft on here on the left, on the right, is starting to overgrow and will fuse with the bark from the left graft, and this bare area will get covered over. It will seal itself, it will heal itself, so the woodworms don't get in and there is no breakdown of that xylem. So, and as you can see beneath, I had the graft. As you can see, the graft there, the elbow onto the stock. So have a look a little bit now at the back. Just follow the garden back. I'm sorry about the blurriness of the images. I'll just try and walk more slowly. Apologies about the background bird song. They're all marking their territories. So if we, there's tulips in flower, these are thornless blackberries. This honesty, these white discs in winter that I absolutely adore. It's a beautiful plant in the summer. This purple, these purple flowers. We have some raspberries, buds ready to open up in a couple of days. Here we have another apple tree, produces quite sweet apples, and honey smelling blossom in spring. So here you can see behind there's a variety of the beechwood hedge that is a little later and it hasn't opened up still. So when it gets hit by the bright sunlight it will. Here we can see some of the leaves have already broken through. I'll come closer and just focus on one of the trees. We can get more orientation. Here we are. Follow the branch down. Can you see the finger here? If you follow my hand. There we are. Now we can see. Here we have the rolled edge of the bark, and this is the dried twig that's broken off, growing that way, and this is the rolled dried edge that will heal this bark. So when you try and trim your beechwood hedge, aim to cut as we've done here. So there's one branch on the right, the other one on the left, because that bit, unless it produces shoots, will die. You can see little buds here. Oh no, there the buds for you. Just there, little shoots, gorgeous shoots. I'll follow this round. So this is at the back of our garden. Again, you can look through and you've got the view of the park on the back. That Robin Hood country feel. And most of the hedge is now, on the 2nd of May, after 4 days of bright sunlight, produce these cascading, soft, gorgeous leaves. You can see the branches, and they'll form a hedge that you cannot see through, so we'll lose that privileged view of the park at the back that we have at present, because of these leaves, these cascading leaves of the beechwood. So I was wanting to quickly bring you to a part where we had a bonfire here, and the heat damaged the barks. I've just found something interesting. A little bit more to the left. I'm still, there we are. There we are. You can see here that this branch, there's one branch going that way, and it's the flow of the bark that lives with the branches. So if you cut the branch dies. The bark associated with that branch dies, so there's no support to the xylem underneath. Here we have breaking away of the dead wood with overgrowth of the bark, the rolled edge, effectively trying to seal that defect in the surface of the wood, so the beechwood heals itself. And I'm trying to get you to, it's overgrown quite well now. Oh, here we are. As you can see, just break some little branches off. This is, you can see that bark. This is the damaged bark of the fire, but then there's this healthy edge just here. You can see that is the healthy edge. Overgrowing will just seal, the two edges will eventually meet, and that will save the central tree trunk of this tree. So there you can see the rolled edge of the bark healing. So bark is the living part of the tree, and it does everything possible to ensure, even if the bark is damaged by rabbits chewing on it or a deer scraping the skin off its horns in the rutting season, that tree will aim to re-heal itself. So, and as you get these leaves, in about a month's time, with these leaves will be associated tiny little white flies, and when they leave the beechwood hedge, then swallows will appear, and there'll be an aerial display of swallows to entertain 1 or 2 days. These swallows appear from nowhere, and you can just sit in your bedroom and enjoy the swallow collecting these flies, the little white flies, tiny little white flies that come off the beechwood hedge. So the beechwood hedge has a whole ecosystem that depends on it. So I would recommend a hedge that will support the local wildlife. Here is what I was cutting one of the broke a branch off, and to my surprise there was a hole in it, and this I guess was made by a caterpillar. So a caterpillar burrowed into, it's quite soft, into this dried out, almost ready to fall off bit of branch, and this bit of branch provided the caterpillar insulation over winter, so it didn't freeze, and then in spring it emerged, became a chrysalis and transformed into a butterfly and gave us beautiful butterflies in the garden. So I'm amazed how nature takes advantage of every little opportunity. So the loss of a branch to the beechwood hedge, with a bit protruding of the branch, as that bit dies off in over 1 or 2 years, it will provide a home for the caterpillar for winter. So that's the reason why, for me, the beechwood hedge is my number one. And yes, I would recommend that you plant deciduous, well, native trees rather than leylandii. Leylandii are a fire hazard. When they get very thick, they've collected a great deal of dry, oily leaves and branches within, because in the hot countries there isn't that animal wildlife to break down, recycle nutrients from the dead tree, and then when it gets struck by lightning, it will suddenly catch alight and burn very aggressively, profusely. Provided there's a breeze, its seeds won't get damaged, and then those seeds will germinate in the ash of the original tree. For us, it's a fire hazard. If you have PVC white windows, you can get them sooted. Our next door neighbour was having a barbecue in the summer, and it was being dry for a whole 2 weeks prior to the barbecue, and the next thing, one of these evergreens, tropical evergreens, set alight. It sounded like somebody's testing an aircraft engine. And there was lots of flames. He called the fire brigade to try and, should the fire get worse, to extinguish it. So there, the danger of having a very wide leylandii, because it's stored many years of dry leaves. So I'm just going to take you across to the roadside so we can have a look at leylandii, and then you'll be able to see the dry, oily, sooted up centre it has. Here's another grafted apple tree, and as you can see, the cats have been scratching the bark, but that graft, this bit is the graft. The 2 twigs here If I get this side, it's better. You can see the two twigs are growing, the bark of the two grafts are growing together, and here they've almost totally closed off the top, the horizontal top of the graft, the stock. So it sealed itself, and then more healthy xylem wood will be laid down underneath the living bark, and you'll never know in the future that it was actually grafted. So the beauty of our deciduous wood trees, native trees. I'm just coming around a little more. Another, my wife's favourite plants. I've got bright sunlight, so I can't see if it's in focus or not. I'm just walking away, trying to get to the leylandii as quickly as I can. Really made it. Thank you for your patience. I'll just a little road traffic accident. Here we have the leylandii hedge, native. And as you can see within the leylandii, there's all this dry branches that are at risk of catching the light, and it's only the shoots on the outer that are actually green, whilst the red is dead underneath. So holly is another favourite. I like the red berries of holly. I'm going to take you to a holly bush next door. Here's the front. You can see the cascading growth, the soft growth initially that you have in spring that provides ground cover so no weeds grow up, and the sunlight and the water or the rain that falls is taken up by the tree. So the tree claims its bit of land. Here we've tied, just there we have tied, you can see, two twigs together. You can see it now. And here we put a branch into the ground. I can't find it, just there. And this will gently scratch the bark to reveal the green bark underneath, and I've been watering this to encourage the root growth. As long as that shoot gets light and sees light, hopefully this will form roots and will cover up the void. Here we have a little shoot, as I've said. We are just alright, now you can see the shoots, the twigs being cut, and there's those tiny little buds just there. You can see the tiny little buds, and they will grow larger and larger, forming these shoots. So hopefully these, when they grow forwards into the sunlight, I've opened up the top of the hedge as well, so it's getting the light, and then will grow upwards into the light, and I'll be cutting away any little shoots, because the tips of the shoots have axin that inhibit side branches, and we don't want these little shoots to be inhibited beneath, but actually to grow over. So this beechwood hedge has actually grown over faster, and I wanted to show you the hedge before it had grown over, because these were original trees that were very large, and actually overhung the road to the extent they were causing a nuisance to the buses that were passing, so we had to cut them back. And here we have, as you can see, the original tree stump Oh, if I get underneath here I might be able to see better. That's the tree stump. As you can see, there's a twig, leaves everywhere. Not those leaves, it's just there. So you've got a branch on the left, you can see it's produced little shoots all the way around. Some of them survived, some of them didn't. Those that survived have produced these branches, and hopefully they will seal. Again, you can see this is the edge from here. This is the old edge, new fresh growth. See the bark's now dry, but this rolled edge here, trying to focus better, there's that rolled edge, will be healing, and all the bark from the bases of all these twigs will grow together and will seal the original tree. And basically, oh, one more thing, the reason I've come here, I've almost forgot, is the holly tree. And there is the holly that is evergreen. It does lose some old leaves but remains green all winter. And here we have another holly tree. You can see some have actually opened the blossom. You can see there, I was hoping to catch these. Yes, we've got bright sunlight, which is confusing me. Can I see my finger? Yes, that's the one I wanted to show you. So these tiny little white flowers in spring, and in autumn red berries. And it can produce, these are buds that still haven't opened up just here. Follow my finger just there, you can see the buds that haven't opened up. But there will be red berries in winter, and a beautiful contrast to white snow. So yes, a holly hedge I think is a very attractive hedge to have. So live hedge supporting wildlife and birds. I recommend viewing the aerial display of the swallows picking up all the little flies that have come off the hedge. So entertainment all year round, and in the winter as well. So do consider what there is and variety. Ask at your garden centre so that your hedge is an interesting hedge that you enjoy all year round. Thank you for watching.